He blasts off with the d-pawn in this epic blitz game. It's Pawn-ageddon to come. The world number one, Mandible Chuason, is playing with the white pieces. It's a titled Tuesday game, a weekly online chess tournament for the world's best. And his opponent here, the big fish, it's Vladimir Fedoseev. He responds with pawn d5, and we get this stunning opening that Magnus has been playing lately. It's his new one, bishop f4, and there's more to come that's special. Now this is the Jabava London. Of course Magnus knows about this. He's a gmhands.com premium member, and he's checked out Hans Niemann's Chessable course on the Jabava London.
Again, in the course I have a saying about this position. So, our opponents play e6, and we don't really know if they are comfortable going into the French, because some of our opponents might allow us the chance to go for the French, knowing that we won't go to the French, because we think that they're comfortable with the French, meaning that they're going to be more comfortable in the French than we are in the French. However, they can also know that we are comfortable in the French, and that we think that they are comfortable in the French, thus making us not go into the French transposition, thus letting them play e6 without actually having proper knowledge of the French. And that's why this course is the greatest of all time.
So he's very well versed. He knows after bishop f5 there are different developing options here, but he doesn't go for any of these standard moves. No, Magnus plays pawn to f3, exposing his king unceremoniously, but after e6 the point is revealed. Gary the g-pawn launched down the board, the debts need to be collected, doors banged down, the bishop drops back, and Andrea's had enough, because after pawn h4 she starts spinning the beats. What an aggressive opening. We get h6 and e3 completes the setup. All the space cadets just launched into space there. What an opening. And you also have the old elongated bathtub, one of our favourite formations. a6 is played to cover a square, prepare to push c5, bishop d3 creates that tension, captures of course, and surely everyone in his chess dog is taken with the queen, but no, Magnus wants to create this supermassive black hole, suck all the enemy pieces into those pawns. Beautiful. c5 fights for some central space, and this knight now develops, preparing to keep the pawn structure intact. This one now develops, piles on the pressure, so Magnus does take. Surely bishop recaptures. No, we get this pawn thrust here. Fedoseev erecting that big black center, and yes, it's impressive, but it's not as big as Magnus's. Let's be real. Now we get captures here. The pawn's attacked. How are you defending it? Queen d2, bishop f2, king f2. Well, this is where you have to have that positional understanding. It should be screaming out to push with pawn d4. Take that space in the center, and after pawn recaptures here, how are you taking back? Now, of course, if you're going with the queen, you probably need to go and have a good, long, hard look at yourself. Maybe do some of those self-affirmations in the mirror. I will not blunder my queen. I will not blunder my queen. If you're going to go with the knight, not the best. Pawn takes best. You don't want to be stuck with this mangly, horrible structure. So the bishop now drops, creates the tension, and queen d2 prepares to get the king out of dodge. We get takes with check. Knight recaptures. It's rotating to a light square. You could push g6, but okay, could be a scary structure. Magnus might do something like this soon. Instead, we see queen b6, but Magnus takes care of the problems with the 000, covering everything. Vladimir's so impressed. He copies. It's like Christmas come early with all these 000s. Now we see rook he1. Everyone's screaming out for this rook to join the party. Create the old rook tangle, but not played. The queen re-enters the game, and it prepares to rustle a pony. Don't let that one be stolen. Knight f5 played, or knife f5 as they say. Garry Kasparov said it's worth a pawn to get a knight to this square. This one's under fire, and you could defend like this or like this. They're technically the best moves, but Fedoseev plays pawn h5. Now maybe he was expecting g5 and he's going to drop back and he's okay. But Magnus takes up the gauntlet, captures this pawn, allows takes here, and it looks really bad for white. You know, the pawn's under fire from the rook. There's a threat to actually take here with the knight if you capture, and it's looking quite good for black. But none of it played. Magnus finds the excellent Queen g5, a rude awakening there, hitting the undefended piece, so it drops back here, is in fact one of the best moves, even though it looks weird. And now Magnus doesn't capture here, he throws in the check. Why? Because he wants to take now with the pawn, and he's got this lovely outside runner, could even support the knight re-entering the game in case it ever got stuck. Beautiful structure now. So knight f8, no mate they say, but of course here the king is way on the other side. The pawn's attacked, pushed of course, red carpet rolled out, it's getting super dangerous, and queen d6 is one of the best defensive moves, but not played. Fedoseev's really struggling, getting down on time, wants to connect those rooks, so he jumps forward with that one, but it creates these great tactics. Now what could you do here? Well, you could go for the old Mario smash. Shout out to Michael who enjoyed that one in the comments yesterday. Always great to hear from you all there. Oh, and also thank you to the channel members. I don't nearly say it enough, but it is really appreciated. All of you have taken out that membership just to support things, and then I can also see in the comments as well, so thank you. And this would have been a really nice line, because after captures you can take with the knight, you win back your exchange here, and of course you've got these ones just running like Forrest Gump. That was one of the best lines. But Magnus takes with the knight, pawn recaptures, rook takes best, but he goes with the lady, and still he's fully in the driving seat because the pawns are connected, running. Now we see a check, going for the counterplay, play king b1, keep Lord Hans Feingold happy, and Fedoseev whispers, do you even rook lift, bro? Hits the queen, going for the counterplay, but this is where Magnus just comes up with a corker, finds the best response here. He knows when to combine those tactics with non-tactic positional play. Can you find the move? It's an awesome shot. It's knight takes on d5, saying you take my potato, I take your potato. And this is fine now for white. Yes, you can win a pawn, but the running outside passer is incredibly dangerous, and Magnus is pretty good at endgames. So we don't see this swap of the queens. Instead, this queen simply saves itself. Now Magnus's queen is well and truly under fire. Don't Botez Gambit. This wouldn't be the time. Even if you'd picked this plain seat, right, in between the Botez sisters, been talking to them all flight, still not the time to blunder your queen in Titled Tuesday. And that was the most popular seat, by the way. When we played that game the other day, everyone wants to sit next to the Botez sisters apparently. Okay, very popular. We now see the queen drop back to e4. Still covers this knight here, not blundered. Well done, Magnus. Now the rook's double stack, preparing to win it. And again, it's really, really nice tiptoeing here through the web of tactics. What does Magnus do? Well, he doesn't move it. Even though that looks the most obvious move, you know, how do you defend it? Because if you move it, the pawn is dropping. So he goes for this great move, queen f4, offers the exchange of the queens, and you can't now take this knight because a pin has been created to the king. So if you go for this one, fine, playable, you win a pawn, but again, after this and this, these are a big problem. You can even sack the knight here. Love this line, because then the second pawn runs. Yes, the rook comes around, but the pawns run, and you could never do either of those moves because the rook cuts the file. Very, very nice. This is completely lost. There's a sample line. So none of this takes or queen takes. Instead, we get queen h3, keeping the possibility of tactics alive, covering the h-pawn, and now Magnus carries on here by dropping back the knight simply. There's still a pin, so you can't win the pawn. Knight takes, of course, rook takes, rook is pinned, so we get king a8 played, but now d5 for the high five. Now the knight moves to a7. How miserable is that? And Magnus takes advantage with this great move, knight e4, saying please take my rook, sir, no issues, because I take you and back, and there you go, back rank issues, you're getting branked, or at least you're giving up pieces, and of course this is unassailably lost. So we come back here, The pawn not touched. Rook b6 looks for some trickery. Let's checkmate the king perhaps. But queen g3, Magnus ruthlessly shuts it down because he's forcing the queens off the board. Few of his fans start bleating here. And if you go for something like this, well, what to say? He's 3 pawns ahead. All 3 of them passed pawns. It's just completely game over. And look at that for a donkey and a passive king. This is the final position. Magnus won this entire late tournament. Awesome result from him. And if you enjoyed this one, have a look at the video on screen for a truly epic chess game between Magnus Carlsen and the one and only Hans Niemann. Thanks a lot for watching and see you soon. Cheers.